Hi, I'm Regular Zach, and this is my limited set review for the Magic the Gathering crossover set with Avatar: The Last Airbender. Today we are talking about all the colorless cards that are in the set, and remember that this is a limited set review, so I'm talking about these cards in the context of draft and sealed, so we're not thinking about standard or commander or any constructed formats or anything like that. I'm going to be putting every card in a scale from A to F. So A's are awesome. These are bombs. They're the ones that win all your drafts and the cards that are awesome and you want to show off to your friends. B's are cards that actively pull you into wanting to play, I guess, colorless in this case, or cards that you're really hoping to open. C's are like the bread and butter. These are cards that the majority of your deck you're playing with C's, and it's probably more likely that some of these will be in the C range. D's are cards you actively don't want to have in your deck. Something went really wrong, and you're hoping that you don't ever have to play these. And then F's are cards that you probably shouldn't put in your deck under any circumstances. They either don't work in the context of what we're playing, like draft. They're only constructed cards, things like that. We're going to go with the commons, uncommons, mythics, and then the lands. And first up, we have Barrels of Blasting Jelly, which is a single mana for an artifact. You can pay 1 mana to add 1 mana of any color and activate only once each turn. And then you can spend 5 mana, tap it, sacrifice it, and it deals 5 damage to target creature. So this first ability where you can kind of filter your mana and fix your colors, it's okay. It comes in handy sometimes, but I don't think that that's the real reason we want to play this. This is actually just a card that's like, spend 6 mana, deal 5 damage to a creature if you didn't get enough removal. I don't think that that's a good rate. It's pretty bad. And we don't have a lot of artifact synergies. We have some non-creature synergies. So, you know, the prowess decks might be... I really don't think they're actually interested in this card. And I don't really think any deck is very interested in this card. I think this is an oops, I don't have enough removal. I guess I'll have to play Barrels of Blasting Jelly. So I'm going to give this a D. This is a bad card, and I'm hoping I don't ever have to put this into my deck. Next up, we have Aang's Journey, which is 2 mana for a sorcery lesson, and it has kicker for 2, so you could pay 2 additional mana as you cast it. It says, search your library for a basic land card. If this spell was kicked, instead search your library for a basic land and a shrine card. Reveal those cards, put them in your hand, then shuffle, and you gain 2 life, no matter what. So 2 mana to fix your lands and gain a life. You don't ramp, you just kind of put it into your hand, but it is a colorless spell, so that obviously any deck could play this card. Does any deck want to play this card? Not really. We have like shared roots in this deck, so we have like literal rampant growth. I mean, obviously that's green, but I don't think that anyone's going to be hoping to play this card. And technically there is like a 5-color shrines deck, and this obviously calls out shrines and could tutor one up while giving you the mana to cast that shrine. But I don't think that deck's going to be any good at all. I think it's going to be pretty bad. So I don't think that you really want to play this card very much. It's probably like a D+, because like every once in a while it will come in handy, but I don't want this in my deck if I can help it. I'd much rather just have better ways to fix my mana. No, this is like a D+. Aang's Journey, I guess, you know, it is a lesson. That's kind of nice. Next up, we have Kyoshi Battle Fan, which is 2 mana for an artifact equipment. It says, when this equipment enters, create a 1/1 white ally creature token, then attach this equipment to it. Equipped a creature gets +1/+0, and it has equipped for 2. So... okay, this card is like a functional reprint of Monk's Fist from Final Fantasy, where it did exactly the same thing. It enters, it makes a 2/1, but it's just a token creature. The token's actual, like, the ally type on that is relevant. There are a lot of ally synergies throughout the set. And it's a non-creature creature, right? So if we're playing Izzet, we might be interested in playing some of this. Or like a very aggressive Boros deck that wants to move that power around. But ultimately, I don't know. Monk's Fist actually played much better than I had thought it was going to. But I still think this is probably like a C-. I don't think we want this card. But it will come in handy, and you will put it in your deck from time to time. So it's like a C-. If you want them, you can get them. Next up, we have Bender's Waterskin, which is 3 mana for an artifact. Untap this artifact during each other player's upkeep, and you can, it's a mana rock, so you tap it for any color that you would like. This is pretty cool. I like this design a lot. Just the fact that you always have access to, like, water bending is really the joke. It's like, yes, this is a mana rock, that's its primary purpose, and like, yes, it untaps during your opponent's like turn, so that you also get to like use that mana. But it also means that you could use it for mana on your turn, then it untaps, and it's an artifact that you can waterbend with on your opponent's turn, which is pretty cool. Is that good enough to be great? I don't know. I wonder if like a blue-green deck would be interested if they're trying to ramp and stuff. Like, there's a lot of other, like blue-white probably doesn't care all that much. Blue-black, blue-red. So maybe it really is just kind of like a ramp piece. And then there's like an added little bit of utility. I think it's probably also just like a C. It depends on whether we have big things that we want to play. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a C because I like what it can do. I like the duality of it, and a mana rock that can do something else is nice. Usually the mana rocks that are actually good in draft are the ones that draw cards. This does not do that. And it's also kind of situational. Like any deck that doesn't have waterbending cares a little bit less about this. So maybe it is ultimately like a C-, like a card that you could put in your deck if you have like some expensive spells and you want to ramp on turn 3. But maybe not something that's sought after. Next up, we have Zuko's Exile, which is 5 mana for an instant lesson. It says, exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment. Its controller creates a clue token. Okay, 5 mana, exile a creature, artifact, or enchantment. Very versatile. Instant speed, that's really nice. And then it has it feels kind of like a white card because you're giving your opponent something for taking their stuff. So they get a clue, which, you know, is like almost a full card, it kind of feels like, especially in the set where you get to use clues for different things. You tap them for stuff. So this isn't the removal that you would hope to have in your deck, but the fact that we do have this, and it does exile, and 5 mana, I mean, all of that wraps up into, I'm going to play this card. It will come up and you're like, oh, I got some Zuko's Exiles. They're not great, but like, I think they're definitely playable. And I don't think we're that upset if we're playing it. So I'm going to give it like a C. I think that this will happen to be in some of our decks. It answers everything, which is really good. Yeah, giving your opponent a clue really sucks, but if you have to kill their big thing, this is a thing that it does work. It does kill it. So I don't think that you should shy away from putting this in your deck just because you're giving them a clue. I know it feels bad, but it does answer their threats. Next up, we have Trusty Boomerang. It's an uncommon for 1 mana. It's an artifact and equipment. And it says equipped a creature gets an ability. You can pay 1, tap it, and tap target creature, and then return Trusty Boomerang to its owner's hand. And then you can equip for 1. So kind of the cycle of this card is it's 3 mana to tap a creature. So 3 mana, tap your creature, tap their creature. And then you pick up the boomerang, and then you play the boomerang, and then you equip the boomerang, and then you pay 1 and tap it, and tap one of their creatures. That's really expensive. That's a very expensive twiddle. So we don't really like that very much. But there are certain random things we can do with the Trusty Boomerang. So like, maybe we're interested in a prowess deck where we have another creature that we just need to keep casting stuff so our prowess creatures get bigger. That is one thing. Specifically, if you have the rare, there's a Sokka rare. Obviously, this Trusty Boomerang is Sokka's. We can see Sokka right there. There's like the 2-color Sokka, one of the 2-color Sokkas, cares when artifacts and I can't remember the other, like maybe non-creatures are played. And so every time an artifact enters, he gets a counter. And so this is obviously a joke with him. So I would play that in that Is It deck. It already seems like an Is It card because it's really cheap. But really, like, the ability just does not feel that good. Tapping creatures for 2 mana is like acceptable. Tapping creatures for 1 mana is awesome. So 3 mana and you have to cast it again. The fact that you do get to move it around so it's whatever creature you want it to be is kind of nice. But ultimately, I don't really want to put this card in my deck. I think it's probably bad outside of the cases where it's like every once in a while, there might be a situation if you get that Sokka that maybe it's kind of okay. I don't think it's great even with the Sokka. So this is like a D. You probably shouldn't play this card. It's pretty bad, but there might be a use case and I'd love to see it. Next up, we have Energy Bending, which is 2 mana for an instant lesson. Lands you control gain all basic land types until end of turn. Draw a card. Okay. What are we going to do with this? There is something that we can do with this card, which is strange, and I don't think that we want to do it, but we can. Which we have a cycle of different cards in the set that care specifically about, they're uncommons, and they care about the number of a certain land type that you have on the battlefield. So the white one makes a bunch of tokens, the blue one lets you, it's an artifact that lets you draw cards, the black one deals damage equal to swamps, mountains lets you like cast something from your deck, and then forests makes a big creature. So energy bending would be a way that you could get the full value of all those cards. You, for 2 mana, make all your lands all basic land types, and then whatever card that you're trying to use gets the full effect, and it replaces itself, but it's still 2 mana. So like, I don't know if it's like a world where you're like, okay, I'm going to attack, I'm going to fire bend, and so I have extra mana, so I energy bending during combat, and I draw a card, and then post-combat I get to do the thing. I don't know, most of them are kind of expensive cards, like 5 mana and up, so I just, that's the only thing I can think of, besides like, obviously it fixes your mana, like, but for 1 turn, it is a lesson, and it does cantrip, so maybe this is literally just like, Izzet wants to cantrip, and they will play this to do that. That feels kind of bad. 2 mana for a cantrip that does nothing. There's no selection or anything. I don't know. I'm also gonna give this like a D-. I once again would like to see this happen. It would be kind of funny. If you get to, oh, I energy bended, and then I played the cat gator, and I dealt, 9 damage to my opponent because of all the swamps I have. But that's it. That's what I can think of. All right, next up we have Fire Nation Warship, which is 3 mana for a 4/4 reach artifact vehicle. It has reach, is what I meant to say. And when this vehicle dies, create a clue token, and you crew for 2. This is also a bad card. Like, crew 2 to get a 4/4 reach. It dies into a clue, which is cool, but the actual card is like, if it entered and made a clue, I'd be much more interested, but you have to, like, it has to be a creature. Your opponent has to actually trade with it or want to trade with it. I think this card's really bad. This is another D- that you just hope not to play. It's bad. Really bad card. Yeah. Next up, we have Meteor Sword, which is 7 mana for an artifact equipment. It says, when this equipment enters, destroy target permanent. And it says, equipped creature gets +3/+3, and equipped creature, and you equip for 3 mana. All right, so 10 mana to give your creature +3/+3, but you do get to kill something on the way in, and it's a permanent, so it kills anything, which is pretty sweet. I love the design of this card. It's obviously it's a sword that's made out of a meteor, a very important plot point in the, or I don't know if it's super important, but it was a really cool episode in the TV show. Also, it harkens back to Meteor Golem, which is a 7 mana creature that when it enters, it destroys something. So I like this design a lot. It's really cool. But once again, it's like this really expensive removal that has a small upside afterwards. I guess +3/+3 does make anything a threat. And at that stage of the game, you'd really, like, the 3 mana doesn't matter that much when you've spent 7 mana already. So there is that, but we have in recent sets had cards that were creatures that entered and did really big effects, and then it was actually a creature that killed stuff. This needs a creature to finish the game, so it does make it go down quite a bit. I still think it's playable. I think it's like a C-, but it's really teetering on the edge of like whether you can play it or not. And once again, it's, well, if you need some removal, this does get rid of anything, and in a pinch, if you're at 7 mana somehow and your opponent is stuck on a color, you could destroy one of their lands. So that's always fun. I do enjoy destroying lands, so the fact that this lets you do that is really fun. But C- for the Meteor Sword. I don't think we're going to... I think you can play this, but we're not going to be looking for it necessarily. Next up, we have the Mythics. First up is White Lotus Tile, which is 4 mana for an artifact. And says this artifact enters tapped. Okay. And then you can tap it, add X mana of any one color, where X is the greatest number of creatures you control that have a creature type in common. So, like allies, I guess. I don't want to play this card. I think that this is not for us. A 4 mana rock that does nothing unless you have creatures on the battlefield. And we don't even have that many great gigantic spells that would be awesome to play after this, especially in a deck that has a bunch of little creatures. So yeah, I think this is like a card for Commander, or maybe you can do this in Standard. Maybe there's a world where you can untap this and tap this. There's a blue card that lets you do that. So, but like, I just don't know what we're casting with this mana. Like, if you have a bunch of creatures on your board, why would we play this instead of just like a Anthem effect or something, you know? It's just, this is like a mythic that doesn't really seem to do anything. So I think this is just an F. I don't think you should play this card or ever put it into your deck. It just is not going to do anything. I think it's just literally 4 mana past the turn. That's really what this card looks like to me. So just an F for White Lotus Tile. Will be cool in other formats, just not this one. Next up, we have Planetarium of Wan Shi Tong, which is 6 mana for a legendary artifact. You can pay 1 mana, tap it, and scry 2. And then whenever you scry or surveil, look at the top card of your library. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost, and do this only once each turn. And just to help everybody out, it says look at the card after you scry or surveil. So like you'll scry, and then once you've scryed, it will trigger, and then that trigger goes on the stack, and then you get to play the card for free. That is pretty cool. So this is a 7 mana total to play something for free. And then after that, you just get to pay 1 mana to play something for free over and over again. It's definitely cool. Do we want to be playing it in draft? I don't know. We don't have a ton of really big splashy things to cast off the top of our library. And like this is our big splashy thing, right? Like we are using a 6 mana slot for this card that then just plays more cards. They are for free, but you do have to find them. So it's not the same as like having a big dragon in your deck, which would be like much better. This would be really cool if you could cast dragons off of it, but you'd also have to have those. So ultimately, I think this card could do something technically. So I think it's a D. But it's not a card that we want to be playing. I don't think that this is a bomb. And I don't think that we should really be working towards this card. Yeah. And like the scry surveil thing, you would maybe want some more stuff that does that besides just this card, right? Because the rest of the text just lets you do it on your opponent's turn, or your own turn. You'd like to do it at least twice in the rotation of turns, and so you'd need other cantrips or things to let you do that. And I don't know. I think this is a D, and we shouldn't be playing this in draft. Yeah, sorry. Colorless cards sometimes are just not. They just don't really fit, right? Next up, we have the Walls of Ba Sing Se, which is 8 mana for a 0/30 legendary artifact creature wall with Defender. It says other permanents you control have indestructible. That is a big ol' wall. It is huge. 8 mana though. So Avacyn has the same ability. 8 mana. It's a big flying creature that makes all your other creatures indestructible. But that like actually attacks. This doesn't. It's very flavorful. It is a impenetrable wall that keeps everybody inside safe, but then itself does get penetrated at one point in the show. But anyway, yeah, no, I don't think we want to play this card either. Like, it's the same thing as the last one, where it's like we spent 8 mana to play this card, which needs more cards to win the game. My 8 mana spell should be the card winning me the game, not now that I have this 8 mana card, my other cards are better. Like, there are worlds where it will be like really hard to deal with. But yeah, I don't know. I think that this card shouldn't be played in draft. It's just too expensive for something you can't abuse. Like, if you're playing this in your commander deck where you get to make your walls attack and then they deal damage equal to their toughness, yeah, this card's awesome. Like, that actually works in that deck. We don't have that effect in this draft format. Giving all of our stuff indestructible is really cool, but it's also requires us to have more things going on. So it can't win the game by itself. It's too expensive. I'm just going to give this another D. I think that this card is do not play. Thank God that these are all mythic, so we're not going to see them very often. That's what I have to say about that. That's the one good thing about having mythic cards is that, like, if they don't end up hitting, you don't have to worry about them as much because you won't see them as often in the drafts. Like, it's not going to be like, oh, I keep opening the freaking White Lotus tile. Like, that just doesn't happen. All right, next up, we're moving over to the lands. So we have a cycle of dual lands at common. This is the Rakdos one, Boiling Rock Prison, which enters tapped. It taps for 2 different colors, green and red in this case. And you can spend 4 mana and tap it, sacrifice this land, and draw a card. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I like this card a lot, and these cards in general. I love the common dual lands. Are awesome. You want them in your deck, actively looking for them. They're not like pulling you into specific colors like, ooh, somebody let me have this thing. So they're never Bs, but they are C pluses where like every deck wants to have their card. And so I would prioritize making sure you have at least one, and then more after that can be very helpful. As well as these being able to like cash them in for a card later in the game if you have too much mana. That's always helpful. So yeah, I think this card is a C+. Very happy with this cycle of lands. I don't know what we're going to call them, but yeah, they're good. Next up, we have Rumble Arena, which is a land. It has Vigilance, a Vigilance land. It says when this land enters, scry 1. Cool. Scrying 1 is great. And then it taps for any color. And then you can pay 1 and tap it to add any 1 mana of any color. So it does filter, but you know, it's a little bit expensive. You have to play off curve if you don't have the right colors. But it does enter untapped. It scries, which helps you obviously look at the different things. And if you have the planetarium, I guess you could play this card too, but whatever. You're not going to play the planetarium. But that's really helpful. So this reminds me of, there was a card like this in Outlaws of Thunder Junction that had a very similar effect. And when it entered, I think it surveilled. And that card actually ended up being really good. Yes, it was a desert, so there was like some synergies with that. But when your land enters, scrying is like, it's a really nice thing, especially when we don't have to like, we're not losing mana for the turn. We're not spending turn 1 doing that because we could play this on any of our turns because it doesn't come into play tapped. In fact, it never taps because it has Vigilance. And the reason it has Vigilance is because of Earthbending. So if you Earthbend onto Rumble Arena, number 1, it already scryed, so you're kind of happy with that. It doesn't tap for a color necessarily, so you're not that worried about losing it. And it has a keyword, so it has Vigilance. So putting 3+1/+1 counters on this creature or this land just makes it awesome. I don't know. I like this a lot. Earthbending decks will be really happy with cards like this. The first one goes a long way. They do drop off in multiples because you can only have so many colorless lands in your deck. But I do think we want to play this card. I think it's a C+. It's going to be more impressive than you think. Next up, we have White Lotus Hideout, which is another land that taps for colorless. And you can also tap it to add 1 mana of any color, but you spend this mana only to cast Lesson or Shrine spells. And it also filters. You can pay 1 and tap it and add 1 mana of any color. I like this one significantly less for all the reasons that I said before, where it's like, it enters, doesn't do anything. It only taps for a color if you have Lessons or Shrines, which I don't think we want to play Shrines, honestly. And then the filtering is perfectly fine, but I think Rumble Arena is way better. So I'd much rather like play this card. It's common. Don't worry about playing this card. It's uncommon. There you go. This is like a C- to like a D probably. I'm just going to give this a D because I don't like it very much. Okay, that's kind of mean. I'm sorry. I'm going back on my word. It's a C- because if you have to fix your mana, I think it's okay. No, you know what? Screw that. I don't care. No, it's a D. It's a D. Don't play this card. Play the Rumble Arena instead. It's much better. All right, moving on to the rare lands, we have Abandoned Air Temple, which is a land. And it says this land enters tapped unless you control a basic land. And you can tap it to add 1 mana that's white. That was a weird way to say that. And then you can spend 3 and a white and tap it, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Each? That's pretty exciting. So that activated ability is like 5 mana total because you have to tap this land. But still, you know, it's repeatable, which is pretty strong. And it's instant speed, which is also pretty strong. So you could use some firebending with it as well. I think this cycle of cards is awesome. This is like a strict upgrade for your planes, right? Like in draft, the whole this land enters tapped unless you control a basic land. We play so many basic lands. This is basically just a plains that has an activated ability. It's not legendary, so you can have as many as you want. I mean, obviously it's a rare, so you're probably not going to get that many. But this is awesome. I think this card's really good. I would like move into white if I saw this card. Like a white weenie deck where you're like Boros or Celestia. I think we're pretty happy. Even like blue-white flyers, putting counters on all your flyers seems really good. This is like a B to maybe a B plus. Like this card's awesome. I'm very happy with this. That's great. Yeah, B for the Abandoned Air Temple. That's awesome. I'm gonna like the rest of these, I think. This is the blue one. There's one of every color. And this is Agnaquella, Kila. I do not remember how they pronounced it in the show. I apologize. I forgot that this card was hard to pronounce. So this is the blue one. Same thing. It taps for a blue, but you can pay 2 and a blue, tap it, draw a card, then discard a card. Okay, that's also great utility. Like looting is great. It is like 4 mana to loot, so that's kind of expensive. But if you're holding up counter spells or, you know, you need this effect, looting in general in draft is very good. So having this at your disposal is really nice. I think it's maybe more closer to like a B minus because the other one just feels like it works so well. Actually, this does go into the blue-black deck because if you want to draw an extra card, it is in your lands. It's a very expensive way to do that, but it is a way to do that. I think I'm still going to say like a B minus. I'd rather have the white one and do the white deck, you know, because that's a deck that tends to get to a situation where you want to, you run out of cards and you need your creatures to be better. This is one where it's like, you're probably going to have cards in your hand because you're activating this, and then you won't have mana to then cast the spell that you drew. So it gets a little like iffy there. But anyway, B minus for this blue one. Next up, we have the black one. It's Realm of Ko. It taps for a black, and you can pay 3 and a black and tap it. Create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token with this token can't block or be blocked by non-spirit creatures. So it makes like this little 1/1 like shadow creature thing. That's good. Is this the best one? Maybe it just spits out tokens. Obviously, they don't chump, so that is a problem. If you like are sitting in a situation where you're like, man, I'm just gonna die from my opponent's giant creatures. All right, so that does happen. But it does just spit out a bunch of little creatures that like attack your opponent, and they basically can't block. There are spirits in the format, but not a ton of them. So this is another B. I think this card's great. Yeah, really, really cool. I love these lands. These are awesome. Next up, we have the red one, Fire Nation Palace, which is taps for red, and you can pay 1 in a red. Target creature you control gains Firebending 4 until end of turn. All right, this one's a little bit less exciting. So you have to spend 3 mana to give a creature Firebending 4, right? So then you only net 1 mana from the exchange, and then you turn that mana that you had into mana that only can be spent during combat. Okay. So like, yeah, you gain a little bit of mana. I don't like it very much. So this is closer to like a C. Like, I think you can definitely play this one. But all the other ones are much more impressive, and this one's very meh, right? Like, I don't think we care that much about going from 3 to 4 during combat. I don't know if that's that exciting. Sorry. Yeah, it looks like you're doubling up. It looks like you're going from 2 to 4, but because this land is obviously a land, you have to tap it itself, so. Anyway, it's just a C for the Fire Nation Palace. Kind of a damper on all these. Next up, we have the green one, Ba Sing Se. This is the actual city, not the wall. And it taps for green, and you can spend 2 and a green and tap it to Earthbend 2, activate only as a sorcery. Hey! More creatures, more counters. This is awesome. So the first one, you probably, if you don't have a land creature, you pay 4 mana, turn one of your lands into an Earthbended 2/2. And then on following turns, you just keep putting counters on that creature, make it huge. That's nice. Or make a bunch of them, depending on what you want. This is another great card. This is like a B again. It's kind of a combination of the white one and the black one. Obviously, not instant speed, but really good card. I like all these except for the red one. The red one's fine, but the rest of them are great. So, yeah. Play these cards. They just replace basics, essentially. It's just nice. And even with the red one, it's still, you know, you could still play this card, and maybe it comes in handy every once in a while. That's why it's a C, because it does just kind of replace a mountain. But yeah, these are good. I like these a lot. All right, next up we have Jasmine Dragon Tea Shop, which is a land that taps for colorless, and you can tap it and add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast an ally spell or activate an ability of an ally source, and you can spend 5 mana and tap it to create a 1/1 white ally creature token. Definitely helps in the ally deck because you want to be able to spend all those, you know, tap for all the ally stuff, because, you know, that's like a 5-color deck. 6 mana to make a 1/1 is pretty expensive. But it is helpful. You know, you never know when you're going to need some more allies, and maybe it'll trigger a bunch of your cards that, you know, when an ally enters, you get to do this. So I think that this card's more in the, it's like a C to a C plus. The fact that it does just make a token whenever, like, I would play this in, if this is the type of format where we're going to go kind of long and you have board stalls and stuff and you need something to do, which, to be fair, isn't really formats anymore. It doesn't happen that often. But this card is one that can do that. So I think a C plus is perfectly fine for this. And you never know when an ally spell will be helpful to, you know, you will be playing allies in a lot of different colors. And this one will, every once in a while, help you cast some of those cards. So I think it's definitely worth playing, but you don't need to pick it early, I think. It's not nearly as exciting as some of the other ones. That the colored ones just feel like you just replace lands, and it's super easy, like your basics. This one, there's a little bit more thought brought into it, but because it makes tokens, I give it a C+. Next up, we have Secret Tunnel, and this is the last land that we're talking about, and the last card for this video. So it's Secret Tunnel, it's a land, it's a cave, and it says this land can't be blocked. Yeah, it taps for colorless, and you can pay 4 mana and tap it. It says 2 target creatures you control that share a creature type can't be blocked this turn. So you have so much utility with this. It's kind of like a Rogue's Passage, except for if you have 2 creatures, like primarily 2 allies, that's going to be the easiest type that go together. They get to attack your opponent, 5 mana, boom. You get to just attack them with impunity. Like that's very good. Also, earthbending decks are going to love this card because you just slap a bunch of +1/+1 counters on it, and then you have this unblockable threat that comes out all the time. Like, unblockable threats can be so frustrating to deal with because you have to kill them with removal spells. But in this deck, every time you kill the Secret Tunnel, if it's earthbended, it will come back tapped, and then you hopefully can just do it again. And then you just get to go over and over and over again. And they have a really, really hard time destroying this land. And even if they do and you don't have any more earthbending things, you still just get to, you know, make more of your creatures unblockable. So I think this card's like a B. I think this is actually really good. And you should be looking for this because I don't know, it's so strong. Like, not being able to kill creatures in limited, or sorry, not being able to block them in limited is like a huge deal, especially if this has 3 +1/+1 counters on it. Like, the game's gonna end, which is pretty sweet. So yeah, I like this card a lot. But anyway, folks, that has been every colorless card from the set. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think about all the mythic artifacts, like whether I was like super wrong about them, because they all seem pretty bad to me. But, you know, if you have use cases that I didn't think about, tell me in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I have videos for all the different colors and all the different stuff, so check those out if you're interested. But anyway, thank you so much, and I will see you all next time. Bye.